The Pacific Ocean is the largest and deepest of our planet's oceans. Its name, given by the explorer Ferdinand Magellan, means peaceful. Yet, for a time, its waters were the stage for some of the most intense conflicts in human history. During the Second World War, this vast expanse of blue became a battlefield. Mighty fleets clashed, aircraft swarmed the skies, and islands that had known only peace for centuries became strategic fortresses. The scale of the conflict was staggering, and when the battles ended, the ocean became the final resting place for countless vessels. It is now a silent graveyard, holding the steel remains of warships from nations around the world. These ships are more than just rusting metal. They are time capsules, preserving a specific moment of immense turmoil and courage. They are the destroyers, battleships, aircraft carriers, and submarines that were once the pride of their navies. Each one has a unique story. Some were sunk in the heat of a ferocious battle, their decks witnessing acts of incredible bravery and sacrifice. Others were caught by surprise, sent to the bottom by a torpedo from a hidden submarine or a bomb from a plane that appeared suddenly from the clouds. Many of these ships carried their crews with them to the depths, becoming undersea tombs that command our deepest respect. The sheer number of wrecks scattered across the Pacific floor is difficult to comprehend. From the Solomon Islands to the Philippines, from the Midway Atoll to the coast of Japan, the seabed is littered with these silent monuments. Places like Iron Bottom Sound, named for the sheer density of sunken ships that lie there, serve as a sombre reminder of the cost of war. Here, vessels from the United States, Japan and Australia lie in close proximity, united in their watery graves. They are a testament to a shared history, a period when the ocean itself seemed to hold its breath as titans of steel fought for control of the waves. Exploring these sites is like stepping into a frozen moment. The ships often lie just as they sank, their guns still pointed towards an unseen enemy, their hulls torn open by the violent forces that brought them down. Unlike ruins on land, which are weathered by wind and rain and often repurposed by later generations, these wrecks are sealed away from the world above. They are preserved in a cold, dark and stable environment. The ocean has claimed them, and in doing so it has become their guardian, protecting their stories from the passage of time and the forgetfulness of humanity. We are privileged to be able to visit them. Before they became silent relics on the ocean floor, these warships were among the most complex and powerful machines ever created. Imagine a battleship, a floating fortress of steel stretching over 200 meters long. Its massive cannons, with barrels as wide as a person, could hurl explosive shells over astonishing distances, capable of levelling entire coastlines. These ships were cities at sea, home to thousands of sailors who lived and worked within their armoured walls. They were powered by enormous engines, their hearts beating with the controlled fury of steam and oil, pushing them through the waves at speeds that were once thought impossible for such colossal structures. These were the symbols of national power and technological prowess. An aircraft carrier, for instance, was a marvel of engineering. Its flat deck served as a floating runway, a patch of sovereign territory that could be moved anywhere on the globe. From its depths, elevators would lift fighter planes and bombers to the surface, ready to launch into the sky and project power hundreds of miles away. The coordination required to operate such a vessel was immense, a symphony of human effort and mechanical precision. Each ship had its own personality, its own history of patrols, battles, and voyages to distant shores, known and loved by the crew who called it home. The significance of these ships in the Pacific War cannot be overstated. Battles were won and lost based on naval supremacy. The Battle of Midway, for example, was a turning point in the war, decided by the fate of a few aircraft carriers. The loss of a battleship was not just a tactical defeat, it was a blow to national morale, a symbol of vulnerability. These vessels were the chess pieces in a deadly game played out across the vast board of the Pacific. They escorted convoys, supported amphibious landings on remote islands, and engaged in brutal ship-to-ship combat, their guns blazing in the night. Today, when we see them resting in the dark, it is hard to imagine the noise and activity that once filled their corridors. The urgent commands shouted on the bridge, the roar of the engines in the boiler rooms, the clamour of the mess halls and the thunderous blast of the main guns have all been replaced by an unbreakable silence. The only sounds are the gentle currents and the clicks and pops of marine life. These iron giants, once the pinnacle of destructive power, have been rendered inert. Their transformation from weapons of war to serene underwater habitats is one of the most profound stories the ocean has to tell. Deep in the heart of the Pacific, in the federated states of Micronesia, lies a vast, sheltered body of water known as Truk Lagoon, now called Chuuk Lagoon. During World War II, this natural harbour was the empire of Japan's most formidable naval base in the South Pacific. It was their equivalent of America's Pearl Harbor, a strategic stronghold packed with warships, cargo vessels, and aircraft. The Japanese believed it to be impenetrable, protected by a ring of islands and coastal defence guns. For a time, it was the nerve centre for their operations across the region, a place from which their mighty fleet could strike with impunity. This sense of security was shattered in February 1944. In a meticulously planned and executed surprise attack, codenamed Operation Hailstone, American carrier-based aircraft descended upon the lagoon. For 2 days, wave after wave of bombers and torpedo planes relentlessly pounded the ships, anchored in the calm waters. The Japanese were caught completely off guard. The attack was devastating. With the main warships of the combined fleet thankfully absent, the assault focused on the auxiliary vessels, cargo ships, and the aircraft stationed there. The lagoon, once a symbol of Japanese strength, was transformed into a cauldron of fire, smoke, and exploding steel. When the smoke cleared, the scale of the destruction was breathtaking. Over 60 Japanese ships and hundreds of aircraft were sent to the bottom of the lagoon. Tankers, ammunition ships, destroyers, and transport vessels loaded with supplies now lay scattered across the seabed. The once mighty fortress had become a watery graveyard. The ships went down with their precious cargo still in their holds, tanks, trucks, artillery pieces, and even personal items belonging to the sailors. The attack effectively neutralized Truk Lagoon as a major naval base for the remainder of the war, a crippling blow to the Japanese war effort. Today, Truk Lagoon is considered one of the world's greatest wreck diving destinations. The ships of this ghost fleet rest in the clear, warm waters, many of them sitting upright on the sandy bottom as if ready to sail again. They are hauntingly preserved, their decks and holds filled with artifacts of war. Divers can swim through the galleys and see bowls and bottles still resting on shelves. They can peer into the cargo holds and see rows of tanks and fighter planes never delivered to their intended battlefields. These wrecks are not just sunken ships. They are underwater museums, each one telling a powerful story of a single catastrophic moment in time. On the morning of December 7th, 1941, the battleship USS Arizona was moored peacefully in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. It was a Sunday morning, and the great ship, a veteran of the First World War, was at rest. Aboard were over 1,500 crewmen, many of them still sleeping or preparing for their day. The sky was clear and the harbour was calm. No one could have predicted that within minutes this scene of tranquility would be shattered, and the Arizona would become an enduring symbol of a nation's loss and resolve. It was a day that, as President Franklin D. Roosevelt would later say, would live in infamy. At approximately 8:06 a.m., during the surprise attack by Japanese naval aircraft, the Arizona was struck by several armour-piercing bombs. One of these bombs found its mark in a catastrophic way. It penetrated the armoured deck near the forward turrets and detonated inside a massive ammunition magazine. The resulting explosion was colossal, a cataclysmic event that lifted the 31,000-ton battleship partially out of the water. A fireball erupted, and the ship was instantly engulfed in flames. The explosion and the fires that followed were so intense that the ship was doomed. The great battleship sank in less than 9 minutes. The speed and violence of its end were horrific. In that single terrible moment, 1,177 of its crew members lost their lives. For most of them, the ship that had been their home became their tomb. The fires on the wreckage burned for 2.5 days, a grim funeral pyre in the middle of the harbour. The destruction of the Arizona was the single greatest loss of life on any U.S. warship in history. Its shattered hulk, resting on the shallow bottom of the harbour, became a powerful and immediate symbol of the attack. Today, the wreck of the USS Arizona lies exactly where it sank. It was deemed too damaged to be salvaged and too sacred to be disturbed. In 1962, the USS Arizona Memorial was built directly over the submerged hull, a stark white structure that straddles the wreck without touching it. Visitors can stand on the memorial and look down into the water, where the ghostly outlines of the ship are still visible. Even now, more than 80 years later, small droplets of oil, often called the tears of the Arizona, continue to leak from the ship's fuel tanks and rise to the surface, a constant poignant reminder of the lives lost and the history that lies just beneath the waves. When a ship sinks to the ocean floor, its story as a weapon of war ends. But a new story, a biological one, begins almost immediately. The ocean does not see a battleship or a destroyer. It sees a new surface, a new foundation upon which life can take hold. In the vast, often featureless expanse of the seabed, a shipwreck is a gift. It becomes an artificial reef, a complex three-dimensional structure that provides shelter, food, and a place for marine organisms to attach and grow. The cold, hard steel of war is slowly but surely reclaimed by the patient, vibrant forces of nature. The process begins with a thin film of bacteria and algae, which colonizes the surfaces of the wreck. This initial layer provides a foothold for other, larger organisms. Small, encrusting creatures like barnacles, sponges and corals begin to settle on the hull, the guns and the superstructure. Over decades, these colonies grow and spread, creating a living tapestry that softens the sharp, angular lines of the ship. The once grey, imposing structure becomes a kaleidoscope of colour and texture. Bright orange cup corals, deep purple sponges, and delicate white sea fans transform the grim relic into a breathtaking underwater garden. This new complex habitat attracts a stunning diversity of marine life. The dark, protected spaces inside the wreck, such as corridors and engine rooms, become ideal hiding places for nocturnal fish and crustaceans. Moray eels peer out from pipes, and giant groupers claim the captain's quarters as their territory. Schools of shimmering jack and snapper swirl around the masts and gun turrets, their movements creating a mesmerizing living vortex of silver and blue. The wreck is no longer a silent, dead object. It is a bustling metropolis, teeming with activity at every level, from the smallest shrimp to the largest sharks that patrol its perimeter. This transformation is a powerful testament to the resilience of life. The very instruments designed for destruction, the cannons, the torpedo tubes, the armoured hull, are now draped in corals and serve as a sanctuary for countless creatures. It is a beautiful and profound irony. A place of violent death becomes a cradle of new life. The guns that once fired shells are now adorned with soft corals that sway gently in the current. The steel plates that were meant to repel explosions now provide a firm anchor for life to flourish. The ocean, in its quiet, relentless way, recycles the artifacts of human conflict into vibrant, thriving ecosystems. For many years, the deepest secrets of the ocean remained hidden from us, locked away by immense pressure and total darkness. But with advances in deep-sea technology, we are now able to explore these final frontiers. In 2021, an expedition ventured into the Philippine Sea and made a historic discovery. They located the wreck of the USS Johnston, a Fletcher-class destroyer resting at a staggering depth of nearly 6,500 metres, or over 4 miles down. It is, to this day, the deepest shipwreck ever found and surveyed. Its discovery opened a new chapter in the story of underwater exploration and naval history. The USS Johnston has a story of legendary courage. It fought in the Battle of Samar on October 25, 1944, one of the most remarkable naval engagements of World War II. As part of a small US task force of escort carriers and destroyers known as Taffy 3, the Johnson found itself facing a vastly superior Japanese force of battleships and cruisers. Outgunned and outnumbered, the Johnson's commander, Ernest E. Evans, did not hesitate. He ordered his ship to charge headlong into the enemy fleet, laying a smoke screen and firing its torpedoes to protect the vulnerable American carriers. For over 2 hours, the Johnston fought with incredible ferocity. It zigzagged between enemy shells, its smaller guns firing relentlessly at the giant Japanese warships. The ship absorbed numerous hits, its superstructure shredded, its speed reduced, but it continued to fight. Commander Evans, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, led his crew with unwavering bravery until the ship, battered and broken, could fight no more. The order was given to abandon ship, and the Johnston finally succumbed to its wounds and slipped beneath the waves. Of its crew of 327 men, only 141 survived. The wreck of the USS Johnston lies on the seabed, remarkably intact despite its violent end. The remotely operated vehicles that explored the site sent back astonishingly clear images from the crushing darkness. The ship's hull number 557 is still visible. The gun turrets, torpedo racks and bridge are all identifiable, though scarred from the battle. Because of the extreme depth, the cold temperatures, and the low oxygen levels, the wreck has been exceptionally well preserved. There is no cloak of coral here, only the bare, ghostly steel of a ship that fought one of the bravest actions in naval history, now resting in the profound, silent darkness of the abyss. To visit these wrecks, whether in person as a diver or through the lens of a deep-sea vehicle, is to feel a powerful connection to the past. These are not just objects, they are places of human experience. When you swim along the deck of a sunken cruiser, you are moving through a space where young sailors once walked, talked, and dreamt of home. You can almost hear the echoes of their voices, the clang of a hatch, or the distant call to battle stations. The ships are silent, but they speak volumes to those who are willing to listen. They tell stories of duty, of camaraderie, and of the ultimate sacrifice. There is a deep sense of reverence that surrounds these sites. Many of them are official war graves, protected by international law and respected by the diving community. They are the final resting places for thousands of souls. Exploring them is not a treasure hunt. It is an act of remembrance. Divers are taught to follow a simple rule. Take only pictures, leave only bubbles. Disturbing the site or removing artifacts is an act of desecration. It is about honouring the memory of those who were lost and preserving the integrity of their underwater memorials for future generations to witness and learn from. The mystery of these wrecks is also a powerful draw. What were the final moments like for the crew? What specific event caused the ship to sink? Sometimes the evidence is clear. A massive hole from a torpedo, a deck peeled back by an explosion. Other times the story is more subtle, hidden in the details of the wreckage. Each wreck is a historical puzzle, and marine archaeologists and historians work painstakingly to piece together the events of that final day. Their research helps us understand not just the mechanics of naval warfare, but also the human cost of conflict. These sunken giants also carry a warning. They are a stark, physical reminder of the destructive power of war. In their silent, rusting forms, we see the consequences of human conflict in a way that history books can never fully convey. They stand as silent sentinels, monuments to a time of global strife. Their presence on the ocean floor urges us to remember the past, to learn from it, and to strive for a more peaceful future. They are voices from the deep, calling out across the decades, reminding us of the fragility of peace and the immense price of war. In the end, why do these sunken warships in the Pacific continue to hold such a powerful grip on our imagination? Why do we journey to the bottom of the sea to find them? It is because they are more than just historical artifacts. They are tangible links to the generations that came before us. They connect us to the epic struggles that shaped our modern world. When we see the USS Arizona beneath the waters of Pearl Harbor or the ghost fleet of Truk Lagoon, we are not just seeing rusted metal. We are witnessing the physical embodiment of history, sacrifice and memory. These wrecks serve as profound memorials. They are underwater monuments that honour the courage and sacrifice of tens of thousands of individuals. Unlike statues or plaques on land, these memorials are unique. They are the very places where history happened, where lives were lost. They offer a place for reflection, for remembrance, and for paying respect to those who never returned home. Their preservation is a sacred trust, a duty we have to the sailors who lie in their eternal care and to their families who still mourn them. They remind us that behind the grand strategies of war are individual human stories of bravery and loss. Furthermore, these sunken giants teach us about the incredible resilience of the natural world. Their transformation from instruments of war into vibrant living reefs is a powerful lesson. It shows us that even from the wreckage of human conflict, life can find a way to emerge, to create beauty and abundance. This dual identity, as both a historical tomb and a thriving ecosystem, makes each wreck a place of incredible significance. It is where human history and natural history intersect, where the stark reality of the past meets the vibrant pulse of present-day life. Ultimately, we remember these sunken ships because they remind us of who we are. They tell a story about human ingenuity, about our capacity for both incredible creation and terrible destruction. They speak of the price of freedom and the solemn cost of conflict. As they rest in the quiet depths of the Pacific, they challenge us to be better guardians of our world and of each other. They are a permanent, silent plea for peace, a reminder that the calm waters of the ocean should never again be shattered by the thunder of guns. And so we continue to explore, to document, and to remember these sleeping giants, ensuring their stories are never lost to the silent, deep blue.